Hello and welcome to this reading webinar, which is for Upper Key Stage 2 for Years 5 and 6. My name's Andy Turner and I am the Head of Key Stage 2 Reading here at GFM. And if you need any questions or want to say anything to me, my email is there on the screen. Today I'm going to take you through the teaching and learning of reading, any expectations for homework, and everything else that encompasses reading here at our school. I'm going to start by talking to you about the Vipers. The Vipers is a scheme that we are using this year to teach our reading to your children. It's an acronym which works on each individual skill included in reading. The V for vocabulary, the I for inference, the P for prediction, the E for explain, the R for retrieve, and the S for summarize. Across a sequence of lessons, we will go into each of those skills and help your child develop them. And each of those skills has been given a name and a character to help your child remember it and recognize it as we are doing our lessons. So each of those Vipers asks your child to do something different within a reading lesson. For example, the vocabulary asks your children to find and explain the meaning of words within a context. And we've got some different question stems which we will be asking your children in school, but when you're reading with your child at home, you could also use with them. Here are some examples for vocabulary Vinny. So you may ask your child to find and highlight the word that is closest in meaning to a particular word, or you might ask your child to find the word which tells you something, or a key word that tells you about the character's setting or mood. Here are some of those examples for inference and predicting. So inference makes your child justify inferences using evidence from the text. Inferencing is them working out something which they haven't been directly told. The biggest example of that I can give is that if the setting description was talking about icicles and a character wearing a big woolly coat with steam coming out of their mouth when they breathe, your child would be able to infer that the weather is cold, although they have not specifically been told that. So predicting asks your child to make predictions on the future of the book, or what's going to happen next, or what's going to happen to a particular character based on what they have already read. Explain in ESA asks your child to explain what they think and why, again using evidence from the text. And retrieving Rashid asks your child to retrieve and record information and identify any key details. And finally, summarizing Sultan asks your child to put something that they've just read into their own words or put something in a sequence. So in terms of the lessons themselves, this year at GFM, we have got 4 teacher-led reading sessions, which are going to focus on the same book that is being used as stimulus for writing. This is a very powerful teaching tool, as the understanding from the book helps support your child's writing, but also working in writing and using that as the theme also helps with the understanding of the book and help both develop and progress really, really well. In Key Stage 2, we're going to teach reading as a whole class with the option to move into groups or independent work for particular tasks, activities, or discussions. This is at the year group's discretion and at the teacher's discretion as well. We also have one 50-minute session, which is slightly longer than the others, in which we will delve deeper into books, discussions, and looking at new words and vocabulary, or we may complete comprehension activities, or even use that time to celebrate special days, such as World Book Day, or even complete particular assessments. This year at GFM, we have bought into a reading scheme, which is called the Oxford Reading Stream, or in Key Stage 2, and particularly in Upper Key Stage 2, Treetops. Okay? At the beginning of year 5, it is expected that your child be around a 16 or a 15, and then by the end of year 6, that they are at a level 20. We are currently waiting for delivery on our books in Upper Key Stage 2. Once they have been delivered, your child will be assessed and an individual reading book, which is at an appropriate level for your child's reading, will be allocated to them, which they will then take to and from school to read with adults both at home and at school. Once we've got these, we will distribute to your child at the earliest possible opportunity, and these will be heavily linked to our homework expectations, which I will come on to shortly. Okay, so this year for our homework, we are expecting 3 reads at home with an adult per week. And this is to be noted in your child's reading diary, which I will come on to shortly and explain about. These diaries are going to be checked once a fortnight by your child's teacher, with rewards being given to those who meet the expectations of 3 reads a week and at least 6 reads over the fortnight, and that is a minimum. Obviously, if your child does more than that, that is fantastic, and we really do promote that, as much reading as possible, but the minimum expectation is 3 reads a week and 6 reads over the fortnight. That could be with the reading book that I was just speaking about, which will be on the Treetop scheme. It could be with a book at home. It could also be with over an app. However, it must be with an adult and it must be noted into the reading diary. Coming on to the apps, again this year we're going to use Bug Club and Seesaw. Seesaw we may use to supplement our First News, which is another app we're going to be using and I'll come on to shortly. And Bug Club, your teacher may allocate books which support their topic knowledge for your child to read at home. We're also going to be using Epic as well, which we'll use in school to supplement reading when necessary and when your child's teacher sees fit. At the end of every half term, your child is going to be asked to write a book review, which is going to focus on the book that they've been reading in their reading sessions and also been using for their writing sessions. It's going to help them to develop their summarising skills and will really show their understanding of what they've been reading. These are the reading diaries which we are going to ask you to fill in as adults at home. They look like this on the left. Here is where your child can make a list of all the different books that they've read, and here is an example of what that might look like over the course of the week. So there are 3 different entries on the 24th, the 26th and the 27th. So this would be my 1 week with 2 extra spaces if I wanted to carry on. I make a note of the book and the pages that have been read, and then any comments about what you have been reading. That could be linked to our Vipers, it could be a question that was answered particularly well, or a new word that was explored and discovered. Okay, a quick note about the library. In the library, we visit the library on a weekly timetable, and your child has access to a huge range of fiction and non-fiction books, which is always being updated with the latest releases. They are allowed to borrow these books from the library by using their ID card, and that period lasts a week, which is the due date for those books. Please do ensure that if your child does borrow from the library, that the book is returned in time and is in exactly the same condition as it left the library. We're currently working hard on developing the appearance of our library to make it a really engaging atmosphere that children love to go into and settle down to read. Keep an eye out for some pictures on social media once we get that finished. Okay, so in terms of book lists, what your child will actually be reading in school. For year 5, in term 1.1, your child has been reading Here Comes Hercules. In after the midterm break, it goes on to The Firework Maker's Daughter. After the winter break, it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The term after that is Aladdin and the Enchanted Lamp. And then finally, we finish the term with Friend or Foe. If you have got those books, that's great. However, if you haven't, Jonathan Fernandez, who is the bookstore manager, his email is at the bottom. And if you have any questions about that, please do email your head of year, which is Miss Tara. And again, her email is on the screen. These books really do link with the theme that your child is focusing on, and they are all fantastic texts. For year 6, in term 1.1, I have been reading The Eye of the Wolf, which then moves on to Journey to Joburg, After the winter break, it goes on to The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which is always a children's favourite. And then after that, we go on to Beowulf and the Saga of Eric the Viking, very closely linked to our theme there again. And then finally, we finish the year by reading Street Child and also looking at some plays. Again, if you have those books, that's brilliant. If you don't, please do organise getting those for your child, because we do read them in class in both our reading and our writing sessions. So drop Jonathan an email there, or again, if you have any questions, drop Imogen, Miss Imogen, a email, or even myself. Okay, apps which I've already spoke about. We've got Bug Club, Seesaw and Epic, and we are also in the process of getting our Oxford Owls ebook library up and running too, which will be another app that we will keep you posted on as and when we get more information and access to it. First News is yet another app that we're going to be using, and is a website which allows your child to read a lot more non-fiction texts which are really up to date with news from around the world. This has a lot of HPL links which we have as a HPL school, and they're essentially newspaper articles which are age appropriate, and they cover a range of subjects and categories such as sport, world news, science, the latest discoveries, and much more. We're currently getting staff introduced and used to First News this week, and children are going to be introduced the following week, which will mean that their access to non-fiction and world news is going to increase, which is fabulous. Here is an example of what First News looks like. So as you can see, it looks like a traditional newspaper, but as a digital edition. And what this might be used for with your child's reading is that we might snip a particular article which relates to the theme that your child is working on in their class, and they would have to go and read that article and answer questions about it. It might be a comprehension about a particular article, or maybe even a puzzle or a quiz about the entire paper. We will be using these regularly in school and maybe even allocating them for homework on Seesaw, so do keep a lookout for those. Student leadership. Recently, the applications for student leadership have gone live. If your child really does want to become a reading leader, please do get them to scan the QR code and consider those questions which are on the screen. And that encompasses everything that we've got to tell you so far about reading here at GFM. If there are any updates, please do keep an eye out on social media and via emails and newsletters at the end of the week from your child's class teacher. But if you do have any other questions, please do drop me an email and I will do my best as head of Key Stage 2 reading to answer them. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and goodbye.